All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. Is everybody still able to see my screen with the community newsletter? Perfect. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us today. We will try and make this as brief as possible, but as informative as possible, just so that we can give you time back in your day. We all understand how busy you are. So we're going to go through a couple of things, including template, training, tips and tricks. At the end, we'll have an FAQ. So if you have any questions, you either drop them in the chat or wait till the end. But this should be pretty quick and easy. So as you know, we have designed a new template for our community newsletters. The main change is that it's gone from 4 pages to 2 pages. That's just for easier processing for you guys, less information that you have to put in there, but also we really want to make this a very consumer friendly in the sense of like, this is just an overview of what's going in the community for the month. We don't want to regurgitate too much information. We have other outlets and tools and mediums to use for other types of communication, including our social media presence on Facebook. It's a great time to do, updates on a regular basis there. Any kind of specific updates that are specific to your community, like transitions of staff and stuff like that. That's something we have community updates that are done via eBlast that your EDs can process through our department. So we want to kind of take some of things out of the newsletter because we want this to be fun and fresh and vibrant, and use our other tools for more important, thorough communication pieces. So this is the agenda for today. We're going to do a little bit of quick design review. You guys had voted on between the 2 templates that we had created. You guys voted which one you wanted the most. So we took that one, made some minor tweaks to make sure that we included everything that needed to be included. So we will kind of show that for you guys a little bit more in this call. We'll talk a little bit about updating content and where to save it. This is all going to be in Canva. So we'll go through that process. We'll go through the typical newsletter review process, which our department does, as well as eBlast, print newsletter. And then we also need to talk about this other Canva account that you guys have, which is the Spectrio Canva account. So we'll have that whole discussion today. Let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so first step is updating your newsletter content. Hold on, let me actually see if I can show you the template first. Give me a second. Let me pull up the actual template. All right, so here we have our new newsletter template. So right now we're using the Westview as an example. This is kind of how it will live in your Canva account. So as you can tell, this template is a 2-pager. We have the top section that's going to be your ED section right here. It's much shorter than it was in the past. So please make sure your EDs are aware that it's a much shorter paragraph. And at the end of this, we'll actually have suggested word counts for these sections so that they can keep that in mind. Once you create your first one, you'll insert your ED's photos in here and their information stuff, and then that should be static moving forward. So that's going to be a one-time plugin, but this is the area that you'll end up changing every time. The second part is our featured events. So I know that you guys have a lot more events than just 3 events, but we kind of want you guys to think of it as a featured one. What are the 3 that you truly want to promote the most in this upcoming newsletter? So, put in your event name, the date and the time, and just think about having a very brief description, right? Because you're going to be promoting this event in other ways, right? Either in your activity calendar, sometimes you guys create your own flyers. That is where the bulk of the information needs to be. That's outside of the newsletter. So really think about, hey, this is just a heads up what's coming, more details to come. It's almost like a save the date. Think of it in that sense. To the right, you'll see that this is where the community calendar, activity calendar will be. We've had that in the past, so it's just living on the front and to the right, so that you'll end up hyperlinking right here where it says click here to your community calendar. To kind of same process we've had in the past, but we'll break down that process a little bit more further down in the training. At the bottom, we have both resident and it's bigger. Hello, resident and staff birthdays. So that's for you guys to kind of throw in your, recognitions for both resident and staff. We try to put in there a lot of space in there. So if you have less than if you have less and you don't need all the space, and you can delete some of these lower ones. through here. This is really just locked in place so that you have the capability to include a lot more, just because we know that fluctuates month to month. One other thing I do want to note is up top is where we usually have the month. So make sure that's something that you're addressing every time, updating that to reflect the current month. Second page. So a little thing that's newer is, so we've always had an employee of the month feature, which you'll see here to the left, but we're also including the extra mile. I know that is an initiative that has been pushed out a little bit more recently. So we wanted to accommodate that in the newsletter. So now you have 2 features in here for your employee spotlights. But what you can't tell is that we have now removed the section that describes a little bit more of like why this person's getting this feature. I think we really want to focus on, like, here's a person, this is their title, this is what their role is. And then if you want to do employee spotlight as a flyer, we have some options on Canva that you can do a flyer in your community, have it on the elevators, and kind of use that space to talk about that specific employee. And then under here, we kept a section of the village scene. We know that families love to see photos of what's going on, so we didn't want to take that away. So we have 6 photos embedded in here that you guys will be able to just drag and drop your preferred photos. And then you have a small explanation of what these are. So instead of having captions for under each one, we want you to kind of stay generic with the description of what's us. You know, we had a great holiday party. We also celebrated residents' birthday, blah, 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 and just keep it kind of short and sweet there. Right-hand side, we kept the staff directory just because we do feel like from a family and resident standpoint, it's always nice to remember, oh, how do I contact the DRCS, or how do I contact so-and-so? This will be here. The good thing of this time around is that we have already updated these for you from a community standpoint. All of them are already hyperlinked to the correct email address, so you should be good to go. Obviously, if there's some sort of staff transition and someone has left and someone new has come in, you'll need to make sure that that is updated on that end, but hopefully that'll stay static most of the time on most of your issues. Then we also have our social media Facebook push. We wanted to keep that in there because, as you know, we're trying to drive people more to social media. It's a really beneficial marketing tool for everybody to use, and to kind of really, it's free marketing is what we talk about it, right? Send us your content, your family members kind of like it, they share it, all stuff, it starts getting to their news feed. And then people are going to really understand who Belmont Village is and what kind of vibrant community we offer. So those will all be linked to your specific community's Facebook page. And then at the bottom, of course, we keep our logo and then location, all of that is up to date with your community's information. So that is the template, which we're very excited about. So real quickly, when you're updating your newsletter content, we're going to go through these bullets and then I'll show you exactly on Canva how to do it. We have created these newsletter templates for each community. So each one of you will have a brand template. You'll see it once you go in there, you'll find a brand template. You'll say, use this template, and it'll create a version that you can actually edit. When you're in the template, we want to make sure that you are updating the file name. So instead of just reworking the same file over and over again, we want to make sure that we're able to track backwards. This was the October issue. This is a November issue. This is a December issue. So make sure that you update the file name to reflect that month. And of course, also your community name. We'll also tell you where we recommend saving the file, because if many of you guys are familiar with Canva, there's a lot of files that you can have on your own, but unless you share it with your team, other people on your team will not have access to. Sometimes if you're out or you need someone to cover for you, it's just easier if you make sure that the rest of your team at WestU or wherever you are can access that. So we'll show you where to save that. And then we've kind of talked about a little bit of how you update it, but I'll actually go in there and show you in the brand template of how to do it. Let me go back. So we'll send you, let me go back to show you exactly what it is. So my Canva account is going to look much different than your Canva account just because of the design files that I have in here. But you should be able to go into your folders. So I obviously have a lot more folders. And then you have some community folders in here. And then within your folder, because I have access to everybody's, you guys will have just your own. You guys will go in, click on the community newsletter folder, And this is a brand template. If you can tell on the top left, it says brand template. We'll click on that. It'll load. Once you arrive here, which is the screen that I had earlier, you want to make sure you click on use this brand template. This will open a copy of the design and load up. As I mentioned, one of the first things you want to do right here is make sure that you title this how it needs to be titled. So this is Cardiff's. We're going to keep it Cardiff by the Sea. It actually has the October date, but if you are working on November, make sure you have 11 or you put November, however you see fit, but to make sure that we can identify which file that is. Okay. Once you go in here, you should be able to update the date, November or October, just clicking in and typing in. There are certain features that are locked that you will not be able to adjust, which is including the header, and that's purposely for a branding standpoint. So you will not be able to edit that, and you shouldn't have a need to edit that. Once you come in here, you should be able to type whatever you want in here. You know, greetings, Walnut Village. We are thrilled. You know, go on and so forth on how you want to fill that out. Usually, if your ED sends you information via email, or, you know, in a Word document, you could probably just copy and paste it in to fill that space in. Very relatively easy to do. Photos. When you do photos, you can go into, if you're uploading photos on your own, they'll be under your uploads right here. So look at these wonderful veterans that we have here. But you can just probably go in there and then drag and drop in that space and it'll auto fit in there. That would be your ED photo right there. Right. So if you need to make adjustments, you probably can, but most of the time it should be fitting perfectly in there. And then for the name, obviously you would put your ED's first and last name. And then this is the part that hopefully will stay static moving forward. Same thing for the events. So right here on this, we prefer that you guys don't change this title because they are featured events, but there is some flexibility to do that. But you can go in here and obviously update the event name. You know, we have a happy hour. You know, put the date, time, and slip that in, and then you can go in there and then edit your copy of description. We're excited to have pianist, you know, Ray Charles come in to perform for us here and type that in. Over here is where you will have your link to your calendar. Make sure that you are hyperlinking. You'll click this. You'll have to copy and paste your community calendar link, which will show you on a different slide of how you do that. That is still the community calendar that you're doing on Spectrio. One of the things that we want to note, and we'll note again later, is make sure that you're doing the 2-page layout, not just the single page. But this is where you will insert it here. And then so on and so forth. You go in there, resident type. You know, one of our requirements is just from a privacy perspective, both for staff and residents, we recommend only including their first name and their last initial, not first and last name. So make sure that you kind of do that. And then from a date perspective, we recommend just doing numbers just because it saves space instead of typing out December or even the short of December. So please use numbers for that. Same thing with the photos here, right? Drag and drop in that little hole, and then you can adjust to make sure it fits perfectly. Same thing for that. Easy changes for the first name, last name. You should be able to go in there and say, this is Betty L, and she's a pal, to make those edits. And then obviously going in there, updating the copy here, dragging and dropping photos throughout for this, adjusting and all that stuff. This is already hyperlinked, so you don't have to worry about that. All of this should be set. All of these are hyperlinked. You should not have to mess with it unless you have a staff change. So pretty simple and easy, hopefully, for you guys. Once again, it's now down from 4 pages to 2 pages, so it should be a much quicker process for you guys to do it on a monthly basis. One thing to note is that we have pre-created this. This is not something that was created by Canva. This is something that our beautiful designer, Darcy, created. So we are going to have them for every month for you guys. We're working exactly on how to make that available to you. Likely it'll be part of your folders that you have. So if you go back to your folders, these are my folders, but you're under projects, you'll have folders. We might go ahead and create, maybe under logos or something. We'll let you know exactly where it lives, where it says, monthly icons for newsletter. So that way you can drop in any month that you have to replace that. Perfect. So that covers updating content. Hopefully you guys find it as easy as it was to demonstrate it. One thing, let me show you real quick, is where we want you to save the newsletter in your file so that you can make sure that your teammates also have access to it. So from here, once you are done updating all this, and you can sometimes add titles if you want, page 1, page 2, it's not necessary though. You can say share, and there should be a seal. I have to look for the seal. Save. To folder. Am I missing it? Oh, here we go. Sorry. Go to save to folder. Okay, so you'll want to search through all of your folders, but you should be able to see like this is Cardiff's. We have some team designs. I'm going to save it in that community newsletter, and then it'll be saved as Cardiff by the Sea newsletter for October and move it in there. Everybody who has access to Canva already, that's part of your community team, will already have access to that folder. So as the moment you save it in there, it should appear in their Canva account. I will take a quick pause to see if there's any questions. Let me check the chat. Any questions on updating content?
So is this ready to go pretty much right now? If we go to our section in Canva to start the process, it's ready?
Yes, we have uploaded all of the brand templates to each community's folders. So you should be able to go into your Canva account that you've created with the Belmont Village Canva teams and have access to it. If for some reason, and I do recommend that everybody after this call go in there real quick, make sure you have access to it. If you have any issues, let us know. We can make sure that there's no kind of permissions that was missed or something, but everybody should have access. Yes. We want this to be used for the October newsletter. So we wanted to make it available now because we know that you guys have to weave this into your day-to-day. And sometimes you piece it, 3 weeks out and then slowly add stuff to it. So we wanted to make it available to you as soon as possible. Any other questions?
I'm full of questions, Lorena. One more question. Do we still send it in the same way for printing? I mean, they'll just send it back a 2-pager?
Yep. And we'll go through that process here. So we'll talk a little bit more through it, but same process on the distribution side, nothing has changed. It's really only on how it looks and how you guys are editing it and everything like that. I will say from a template standpoint, this is a new process for us, right? So if you get in there and you're starting to see some issues with, I really don't have enough room, I might need you guys to look at this template. The great thing about Canva is that you can go into the design and tag us in it. So you can say at Lorena or at Sam Wong or at Darcy or Ann Lynn, whoever, will give you a contact sheet of who to tag. I'm really having issues with the template and making this content fit. Can you please look at it? At that point, we can go in there immediately. That's granting us access to that design and look at it and see, okay, is it something that we need to address as a template change? Or is it really, we have to change how you're incorporating the content, right? It's really more important, hey, you need to shorten the description and keep it to this because I don't necessarily think it's a template issue. So we can kind of navigate that with you guys as we're rolling this out. Okay, so we'll continue through a couple of things. And because we are going to touch base on the distribution side of it, which might answer some additional questions, but real quick, newsletter review process. It is the same exact process as before. You guys will submit the e-newsletter for review using the same review request link that we have through Accelerate, and we'll make sure that everybody has that. So you'll submit it. This is just kind of a timeline so that you guys understand how long it takes our team to review, because as you know, we have 30+ communities. We only have a few people in-house and we have to review everything and make sure it goes out. So We absolutely appreciate you guys are patient with us, but this is a time frame that we try to stick to, but with a goal always to get it to you sooner. So you will submit your e-newsletter. It takes us anywhere from 1 to 3 business days to review. We just kind of give that leeway. Please note that these are business days. So if there's holidays or over the weekends, they do not count. They have to be business days. Then you will see that you'll receive a newsletter approval. It usually comes from Sam. That does not change. Same process, and say, hey, this is approved. We're going to go ahead and schedule your e-blast. If you have submitted it before the 1st of the month, then we will schedule your e-blast to go out the 1st of the month, usually, unless it's like a random day, like if we decide, okay, Sunday's not the best, then we'll push to the first Monday or something like that. But normally it's for the 1st of the month. Once you get your newsletter approval is when you can submit your print newsletter request. We know that some of you guys like to use the print shop that we have, so you'll use Accelerate again to submit that, or you can still continue to submit it through your local print shop. So in Canva, just as you've done in the past, you can download the newsletter as a PDF. When you download as a PDF, that's what you either upload on Accelerate for print, or you send it to your local print shop to print. For us, if you want us to do the print for the newsletter, it does take about 3 to 4 business days for it to be produced and shipped and arrive at your community. So please be aware of that. And then usually about the 5th day of the month is when we have your activity calendars up on your community's website. I don't know if you guys are aware, but we do try to make your activity calendar something that's accessible to the public. So at the beginning of every month, our team will upload the links to that to the web pages so they're accessible to everybody. We highly recommend that you try to submit your newsletter by the 21st of the prior month if you want everything to be done by the 1st, including your prints. So that's just a recommended date to keep in mind. But if you are flexible about not having your prints done by the 1st, you have some wiggle room there. But I just know that there are some residents that have expectations of, I want this at the 1st of the month, so I know exactly what's coming up. So just please be aware of that time frame. So this is how to submit. This is the Accelerate link. And we'll share this presentation with you. And obviously this is being recorded as well. So we'll share the recording of this with everybody. But here are some screenshots of what the Accelerate process looks like. Make sure you click on here. You log in as an existing user. You should have a login. If you've never been logged into to Accelerate before, you can create your own username and password. It does not have to be the same password and everything that you use for all of your Belmont stuff, but it's something that it's important for you to remember. Once you get inside of Accelerate, you'll see at the left-hand side, there's an area that's called Community Newsletter. Be sure you click on that. And then this area will appear. So when you are doing an e-newsletter, you will click on the Community Newsletter Request. Click on there. It'll drive you to the submission form. Once you get to the submission form, you will put your name, your email address. This is auto-populated, so don't worry about it. You put today's date. Make sure you select your community, the month it is. This is where you need to put in your Canva link. This is not changed from before. So if you need me to go back to show you how to get your Canva link, I will show you. But that gets put in there right there. And then your calendar link, this is the link from Spectrio Share, which will also touch base on how you do that, and you'll drop that in there because that's how we pull the calendar links for the web pages, is by pulling what you have submitted here.
Lorraine, do you mind just pulling up that link real quick, because there is something I do want to note real quick.
Yeah.
Thanks.
And you're talking about Accelerate, right? Or are you
Oh,
talking
sorry, I'm talking about the template in Canva.
Oh, yes, hold on.
Okay, thank you. Okay, perfect. So most of you have been submitting the correct link, but where it says collaboration link, you need to change that status so that way we have access to Belmont Village Senior Living. Yes. So make sure you select that and then copy the link, because we've seen a lot of communities just leaving it only you have access. So then our team has to go in and log into each individual account to get access to your newsletter. So if you can just make a note of that, changing that status right there and copying that link. And then we've also seen people copy the URL link above. That's a different link. So always make sure you hit share, change the collaboration link status, and then copy that link when you submit to the form. Thanks.
Thank you. And then real quick, Sam, since you're talking about links here, at what point do we use the public view link? Because I know that's what we end up using to use in the e-newsletter, but isn't this the link that usually goes into the e-newsletter request?
Yeah, so for the form, they'll submit that link. And then once we make all of our changes, when we send the approval email out, and then in HubSpot, we use the public view link. So when they submit in the form, we'll want them to use the other links. That way we can go and make all of our edits. And then our team will send out the public view link once all changes have been made.
Okay, sounds good. Does that make sense to everybody, hopefully? Okay, let me go back. Okay, so from here, this is that calendar link that we were just talking about. Make sure you insert in here. And then you'll click submit, and then that gets it to our department to start reviewing. For your community activity calendars, when you are in Spectrio Share, it's important that you guys make sure that you are using the two-sided versus the one-sided calendar. So we just kind of did a little screen share here to make sure that you guys know where to find it. And did you have any feedback on making sure for the two-sided calendar, any other steps or processes that need to be made?
No, another reason why it's important is I just want to let you guys know that this is the same calendar link that is on your website. And that should be updated by about the 5th of every month. So it's really important that you include the correct one, because a lot of family members do go and take a look at it, and it's also a sales tool. A lot of leads will go and look at your calendar, so it's important to have everything on there that that needs to be there.
Thank you. And then the next thing we wanted to touch base on is a little bit of what this e-newsletter looks like once it's distributed. So once again, we try and schedule it for the 1st of the month, or at least a day after you receive the approval email. So for some reason, the approval email comes through on the 3rd of the month, and we'll try and schedule it by the 4th. Just so you know, the e-newsletters are sent to the family database in Census. It does not go out to anybody else. It does not go out to the leads. It does not go to the professionals. It only goes out to the families. And this is a little bit of how it looks like. They'll have it. So this is kind of what the first one will look like. Oh, look, we have a fresh new look. We're excited to show you Redesign Community Newsletter. But we will always try and direct them to your Facebook page if they want more frequent updates. Once they click on this link right here, it'll actually drive it to the newsletter, which is that public view link that Sam was talking about. So it's just an easy access for them to be able to view the e-newsletter online. One thing I do want to note, just from we get a lot of questions about, oh, so-and-so mom, or I mean, a family member did not get this e-newsletter. So there's a couple of reasons why that might happen. Either they are marked in Census not to receive any marketing, which usually they are marked in there, but sometimes what happens is that we use HubSpot to send out e-newsletter, which is our email marketing platform. If in the past, for some reason, they have unsubscribed from a past e-newsletter or some other communication that's gone out, if they've unsubscribed, we are not allowed to send to them unless they resubscribe again. So that's a process. We have to work with you guys on resubscription. So that's something that Anne knows a lot about. So if you have any questions of, hey, so-and-so didn't get it, you know, can you look into this for us? Send us an email. We can look and see, do they need to be resubscribed? Is it in Census or is it in HubSpot? And we'll find a solution. And then I do know that Anne is working on a resubscription campaign in general to make sure that residents and family members are receiving the communication that they want. So instead of just unsubscribing from all communication, they can kind of pick and choose. So sorry, Anne, go ahead.
Yeah, so that went out from your EDs last week. And what they did was anyone who has unsubscribed in the past, we really worked on trying to get that down. So you might notice that we used to send like 3 emails for upcoming events. Now it's 2. People have the option now to opt out from specific types of emails. So say they don't want to receive friends and family referral emails from us. So it's a marketing email rather than an event. And we really encourage all of our families not to unsubscribe so that they can continue receiving these really important community updates, whether it's newsletters or when we send out emergency updates. So if there's, you know, a hurricane coming or a wildfire or something like that. So that campaign all went out from your EDs. They emailed everyone who has ever unsubscribed who currently still lives with Belmont Village. And we're hoping, we did see an uptick in subscriptions, but if anyone is ever not receiving the email, just send me the resident's name and the family member's name and email address associated with the account, and I can look that up for you.
Thank you, Anne. Okay, just sharing quickly again how to do print newsletter requests through Accelerate. So as we mentioned, a lot of you guys do like to do this locally through a print shop. But if you want us to do it for you, we're more than happy to help you with that. So you will still sign into Accelerate as you did for your e-newsletter, still go into the community newsletter section. Then you'll make sure you select prints. Then it's gonna prompt you into actually submitting all the different pieces you need. So you'll just follow these screenshots, making sure to say, hey, has it been approved by the corporate communications team? So we recommend, please do not submit it for print until you've gotten that approval email from Sam that says this is good to go. At that point, you can go in there and select the prints. Make sure you include a description so it's easy to backtrack in order. So, you know, this is Westlake Hills, this is, you know, from September of 2024, and I'm submitting a print. This is a drop down to select your community. So be sure to select your community. And then you will upload the 2-page PDF of the newsletter. And then you'll see it auto-populate right here. You'll also select your quantities, how you want. We have them in 50s. I think it's either 50, 100, 150, or 200. I don't think we go up to 250. I don't think we've ever been a request, but if that is something that you need, let us know. And then you'll click next step. It'll continue the process. So the process does have a lot of screens that you have to make sure that you get all the way through and process your cart to make sure the order is processed. Okay, so it'll say, okay, you know, this is the next one. You can do a PDF preview so you can see how it's going to display. Make sure you add to cart. After you add to cart, it'll tell you the quantity and the total amount. Proceed to checkout, and then make sure you have your shipping information on here. So you should be able to just select from the drop down which community you are. It should auto populate your shipping, put your recipient name. So I put myself on here, and then this is a newsletter. And then from here, it'll populate all of that. Be sure to place your order or else the order will not be placed. Just some additional updates that'll be good for you guys to be aware of is printing costs will go down because you're going from a 4-pager to a 2-pager. So right here, we've kind of displayed of where the cost changes. It's not a big amount, but in the end, we will always save money. We're happy to save money. So you'll see that change in price right here reflected. So that should be reflected when you go ahead and print it. This is from an Accelerate standpoint. So obviously from a local print shop, your cost should go down just because it's less pages. These are suggested word counts for some of the larger areas, right? So that ED section I mentioned earlier, it's about 125 words. So that's something to make sure you give your ED a heads up. By the way, we've got a new e-newsletter design and your section's about 125 words. As I mentioned, if they have other specific updates that they want to do, that they need more thorough communication, they can have a community update e-blast sent out that we can help craft for them. We just need to know the information. Featured event section is usually about 20 words. That's that description that goes under the featured events. And then just so you know, for the village scene as well, it's about 35 words. Spectrio Canva account. We are working with Cindy to make sure that by October 1st, we are going to be deactivating your Spectrio Canva account. That is where your old newsletter was housed, because your new newsletter is now in the Belmont Village Canva account. So that being said, if you have specific designs that you have saved in Spectrio Canva account that you want to make sure you still have access to, we need to make sure that those gets transferred over to your Belmont account. So that should be two separate accounts. Make sure that we transfer it over. If you have questions on how to do that, you can reach out to us at socialmedia@belmontvillage.com and we'll get you set up with that transfer. And if for some reason you have not started an account with the Belmont Village Canva Teams account, you will not be able to do your newsletter unless you have access to that. So in our recap email that we do, we'll make sure that you have the information of how to access Canva and get your account set up if for some reason you haven't done it yet. And that's it. So I want to open up the floor real quick for some questions to see what questions you might have, and we'll try and answer them. Any questions? Someone did ask in the chat if production is going to be cheaper. Yes, we just showed a little bit. There's going to be some cost savers there. Don't be shy. Any questions?
I asked a quick question in the chat. I don't know if you saw that. But the public view link is the same link that we would put for the calendar link, correct? We would just put it in both spaces.
No, so they are two separate links. The
Okay.
public, and this is one thing too, Sam, that I might need you to clarify, because the issue that we had before is that the newsletters were in Spectrio Canva account that we did not have access to as a Belmont Village corporate team. But now that this is now housed in the Belmont account, our corporate communications department should have access to everybody's newsletter. So we might not need that collaboration link right anymore, Sam. We might just need the public view.
So the public view link will still populate to where we can view it, but we won't be able to make any edits. That's like the version where it's really read only. But the other link is where when they submit that, once we click on the link, it'll open it up and we can make our edits to it.
Okay, so for clarification, what I recommend doing is, let me open it up. Share it with you, hold on.
I didn't realize you all made edits to the calendar.
Not the calendar. So I'm gonna kind of clarify both. So we don't make edits to the calendar at all. The calendar link is coming from Spectrio. You should be able to copy that link and drop it into the calendar link in the form, because the form had two calendar spaces, right? So let me show you real quick. So as we go through the process. Okay, so I'm gonna accelerate, and you'll go in here. It'll open up this form submission. Sorry, it's taken so long. Two links. This is the calendar link. We do not make edits to the calendar. So you're right, Kimberly, we do not make edits, but we do need you to make sure that you're dropping in your Spectrio Share calendar link in here, which is found in Spectrio Share. So that should not change at all from what we've done in the past. This Canva link is different. This is the one that we wanted you guys to pull from a sharing standpoint right here. So it is important that the collaboration link right here is for all of Belmont, but you really should be at this point copying the public view link and dropping it in here. Does that make sense? Okay. Any other questions?
Okay, I'm going to clarify again, so I understand. Sorry, Lorena. Okay, so we want to make sure that we still have the collaboration link, right, for all of Belmont Village. But then we're actually copying that public link into the newsletter submission, right?
That should be the new process, because as I mentioned, we are translating this from the Spectrio account to our Belmont, which all of our team already has access to,
Right,
no
you
matter
already
what.
have access and, okay, got it. Thank you.
if obviously this is something, a trial and error thing where we are launching this right now, we're going to find out what the kinks are, especially after we start working through these October newsletters. So like I said, from a template standpoint, make sure that you guys are tagging us in there to see if you have any template issues. Once we see submissions, if we're seeing, oh, wait, this link is not working, we need to revisit this, and we'll circle back again and say, hey, this is a different link, but this system should work as is.
Is there a chance that you'd be able to send like a template, a how-to template, or a copy of the video, not for me per se, but for like when I'm on vacation, someone might need to take over and help out?
Yeah, so we are going to send a PDF version of the presentation to you guys, as well as a recording of this training right here as well, so that you guys have access to it. You know, hopefully down the road, we can do some touch points, maybe once a year, of saying, hey, we're just revisiting retraining calendar, a community newsletter training. So if you want a refresher, please join us. It'll be a quicker process, but we'll start offering those hopefully once a year, just to make sure that we are all on the same page, especially if we see some differences now of how people are populating their information and we want to streamline things again.
Lorena, so as it stands now, there won't be a anything from the memory care director, only the ED.
Correct. So we
Okay.
are kind of streamlining. So it's just a message from the ED for important things. We want the village team to be like, hey, this is what's happened in the past month and all that stuff. So I know that there might be discussions later on of how we can give more regular, thorough updates from an activity side or a memory care side. But right here, we really want to be strategic about what we're sending out to our entire family database, because memory care stuff is probably only important to those who have loved ones in memory care and all that stuff. So we'll rethink that process moving forward. That's a discussion we've had with Cindy and a lot of the regionals and the programming of how we want to approach that moving forward. But we just kind of want to keep this, this is more of a marketing piece versus an informational family piece.
That was actually a good question. Can I ask, on top of that question, the photos, the village scene photos? I usually do AL/IL activities because they're a little more, posh or grander. But should we be also doing like the arts and crafts and the activities in neighborhood and circle? We would do all of those intermixed, correct?
Yes, I think you need to have a good range of photos that represent everything going on in your community, right? So have a range of it. Now, once again, this is where we want to drive people to Facebook. So if they want to see more photos, they need to be going to your Facebook page because you're submitting content on Facebook. So this is kind of a variety of AL/IL, COF, memory care, all in there. It's just important to make sure you're looking at it from an aesthetic standpoint too. What do you want to make sure that your family members want to see? So are they positioned? Are they all smiling on all these things? So think about that aspect too of how it's being perceived. Awesome. If you guys have any questions, always reach out to social media at belmontvillage.com. I want to open the floor. Cindy, is there anything I missed or anything you want to share from just from your point of view?
You guys are fantastic. You're doing a great job. And Kimberly, and your questions are really good questions. One of the things I think we should all remember, even though the newsletter is just a taste of Belmont, and it makes our current residents really proud to be part of Belmont. So even when things are used for marketing, it's really good for internal, to keep that everyone happy on the inside. And one and done is never a good move. We don't want to rely on our newsletter to give all the information about our community. The part of this newsletter, it's called Lifestyle for a reason. It's just a splash of the fun that's happening. So, I highly recommend everyone have other ways that they're getting information out to their residents and their families, and ways to celebrate events, especially Facebook. That's a great way, but not all the residents are on it. So sometimes, I'll go in and show some videos or do a slideshow, or, you have different places that you can let them see those things and be proud of what they do in their community. So I really like the way this new newsletter looks. I think it'll get read more when it's not longer. Ones don't get read as easily. So I'm really happy about it. So I hope it works out. I can't wait to hear some feedback from you guys. If you get some, that would be really fun for me to hear. Sam, you've just done such an awesome job with it. I'm just really proud of what you guys have done. And Belmont Village is just looking good. You guys make us look good.
was definitely a team effort, and Darcy and Lorena took lead in making the changes to the new template. So kudos to them. Also, I wanted to mention real quick. So when I send out those approval emails, sometimes we'll get minor edits back. I want to just remind you guys that the link is live, so you can go in there actually and make those minor changes real quick, and then just let us know it's approved. So that way we can just push it forward and proceed. But yeah, I just wanted to send that friendly reminder that the link is live, so y'all can change it.
I do want to give a shout out to Darcy. Darcy's our incredible graphic designer that I feel like sometimes is always behind the scenes and you never get to see who she is. So I want to give a shout out to her because she was able to create this beautiful template with all of the requests and demands that we gave her on how to make it fit. So kudos to Darcy. And she just is brilliant in making things come to life. So once again, we absolutely love collaborating with you guys. Thank you guys for all the feedback on what you wanted to see from your design and what was important to you. This is a continued conversation. This doesn't mean it's over. This is just something we're launching for a while to see how it works. And then we can revisit it down the road to see how can we make this even more beneficial, not just from a standpoint from our consumers, but also for you guys, because we do understand how busy you are. And we want to make this an easy part of your day and your daily tasks. Awesome. Well, thank you all. We'll send you a follow-up email in a couple of days with all the information that we've discussed today. And then we'll stay in touch. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.